Well, I'm with Melissa Conlon, just stepped down as president of the YAA and is here to tell us a little bit about her path. And Melissa, it's great to see you as always. And just tell us a little bit about where did you go to high school? Where did you go to college? What were some of your interests when you were that age, which wasn't so many years ago, but I know to you, it seems like a long time ago, but it was not.
It's okay. Someone told me I looked like I was 2 years old the other day, so maybe it wasn't that long ago. It's great to be here with you, Lisa. So I went to St. John the Baptist Diocesan High School on Long Island, so Catholic high school. And during high school, I was very interested in journalism. I was editor of the paper, a staff writer that led into becoming the editor of the paper, and headed off to Marist College in Poughkeepsie, New York, which was run by the Marist brothers, and headed out as a journalism major. But ultimately, that became an advertising major by the time I became a sophomore, and am now working in advertising at Paramount.
Well, that's great. So now, when you were interested in journalism in high school, did you have like a particular idea of what a journalist did? Were you an investigative journalist or, a features writer?
I think I loved, if I'm jogging my memory, I loved like features and lifestyle. I think as a high schooler, the dream was to work for a publication, like a Hearst publication, whether it was 17 or Cosmo Girl at the time, writing lifestyle and features pieces. So I really enjoyed covering the arts and culture at high school, whether it was reviewing the plays, what was going on, whether it was the Italian club or different events that were happening at school in that regard, but also did enjoy kind of the news of what was going on for the school population as well. So I would say lifestyle and features took the cake. And what I really loved about it was actually setting the paper. So features and layout, what photos were going with different articles. So I really loved the process of putting the paper together for each edition. So ultimately it was going to be magazine journalism when I look back as a 16-year-old.
By the time you went to Marist and they were shifting the journalism major, it sounds like, what did you think of advertising as, as a career path or as something to study?
I think I realized, my love of art and studio art and getting my hands dirty, as I like to say, and, being more in the fine art world. I realized what I really loved about journalism was actually, like I said, like the putting together of the paper, which was more visual in nature. So in chatting with my advisor and just some family friends that worked in, both journalism and advertising fields, I realized that lent itself more to an interest in advertising and the visual arts. So kind of came to the decision to move over to that advertising degree because it kind of blended perfectly writing, visuals, and ultimately felt like a very viable career field with a lot of opportunity across, different industries and my varied interests, whether it was more lifestyle versus entertainment and, more current events and PSAs as well. So it really started to cover all my interests. One of my professors used to say, know a little bit about a lot, which in advertising we use all the time, whether you're selling a car or you're selling, lip gloss.
Well, that sounds great. And then I know you well enough to know that you're very detail oriented and very organized. So I can see this matchup actually when you were in college. This would have been a great fit for your personality too, staying on top of all the details. And
Yes.
so what was your first job out of college?
My first job out of college was a junior producer for a term that might be new to some, but called experiential marketing. It was for a small agency based in Brooklyn. And the funny story there is I found it via a Facebook networking group, which, I was a senior in college. It was about 4 weeks before I was graduating. I still didn't have a job. And I saw a post that they needed an intern, a junior producer. So I took the opportunity to reach out on Facebook through that networking group and got an interview, and it ultimately led to a summer internship, which then became my full-time job post Labor Day, which was a great opportunity.
Wow, that sounds like a great advertisement for just getting out there and not being afraid to talk to people and take a chance. So you work for Paramount now, and you're in marketing and events. And what is the rhythm of your week like typically?
I will say I send a lot of emails, but sometimes they're for some really interesting stuff. So it's a brand that, when I wrote my cover letter when I was applying to my job at Paramount, I said that I was a Nickelodeon kid. And to your point about, putting yourself out there, kind of putting, your heart on your sleeve, for lack of a better cliche, you got to show why you want the job and why you think you're a fit. And I remember being a Nickelodeon kid watching, your favorite cartoons or those crazy infomercials in the 90s and saying like, that's what raised me. That's what raised my curiosity and my imagination to be a creative person. So I always credit my success of getting my job at Paramount to that first cover letter and putting myself out there. But I would say now it's a day-to-day of, whether it's working across Nickelodeon, MTV, CBS opportunities, and our award shows. So I work across, the VMAs and, what sponsors, what partners are coming in to sponsor different stages, different performances, different awards, whether it's Breakthrough Video of the Year or the coveted Video Vanguard Award that happens at each VMAs. And kind of finding the pieces of how our different brands, whether it's Pepsi, whether it's Toyota, how do they fit into an organic storytelling that happens when you watch the VMAs or, any of our branded content that's happening on social or pop-up events on the ground leading into those award shows and events.
Well, that's fantastic. And I just want to switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about the YAA. So I don't know exactly when you became involved with the YAA. I met you a few years ago and then had the pleasure of working with you and Mike and Luke as officers of the YAA. And I will say that the YAA's had wonderful growth over the years, and we're really proud that there's more than 90 members right now and such an engaged group. And getting to know your successors is a lot of fun, and kind of seeing that baton passed in a very, kind of happy way, that leaving a very successful, couple of years as running the YAA, handing it off to a group of very capable people. And you sent me a wonderful photo of 3 generations of YAA leadership all together. So it really speaks volumes that everybody is so close knit. So I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about the YAA experience.
Yeah, I would love to share too that, I came to a Primavera Social, which is the YA's main recruiting event. And that was on a whim. It was through a family friend who said, hey, I know you just started in New York City, you're a young professional. I'm sure you want to meet like-minded people that are figuring out the work world, figuring out New York City. And that's how I ended up at the Primavera Social. And from there, it was kind of just a great fit. I met great people. I met Michael Mangino, who became vice president with me for our term on the YA board that night. And, from there, it's just been, like you said, an opportunity to grow, to meet new people, like-minded individuals, and meet people in different industries. Even some crossover with, Anthony Zamblin, who's an architect. We talk about different architectural plans that I was working on for events, that he was working on in the residential and commercial space. And to just see that melting pot of, even our ancestors coming from Italy to the US, to just see how that happens in a microcosm in the YAA is really great across finance, lawyers, doctors, marketing. So really proud to be a part of the YAA and to have led it for the last 2 years before passing the torch on to the new board. But it's a great opportunity to kind of share that information and share those networking opportunities and put yourself out there, because you don't know, who you're going to meet in a room, whether it's with one of the general members, the junior members, or a YA member sitting beside you at dinner. So it's a really great, similar to this conversation, just a great casual way to meet people without the pressure of having to be nothing other than yourself.
Well, that's fantastic. So, our target audience for these videos are our scholarship recipients, and there are a lot of past scholarship recipients who've joined the YAA over the years, and there's still, a big percentage of that group. And we feel really strongly that this is about building a community. And so there's the membership. There are obviously donors who support what we do. There's the YAA members. There's the scholarship recipients. And I hope the thread that binds us all together is our kind of shared cultural values and a shared interest in our Italian heritage. Is there anything that really surprised you about the YAA experience?
I think it's how immediately comfortable I became with the YAA. And I've heard that from so many YA members, both when I was a member, who was, meeting new people, new members that were coming in after I had already joined. And then especially as president, as you, as Crystal and Kono and different general members were introducing me to their grandchildren, former scholarship recipients that were at Celebration Weekend, that you just fall into a really great rhythm because we do have those shared background and those shared values and even shared interests. So that's always surprising, but I think people are surprised at, how fun the YAA is. It's not just a continuation of a regular networking event. It's a really personable way to get to know someone in a way that I think our culture has done for generations, which is around a table. So I just love that. It's like hanging out with your friends, once, twice a month, and all the great opportunities that we have at CCF to be a part of different events and different, cultural opportunities to engage in a way that you don't get on social media or, just from walking around New York City every day. So.
Well, that's fantastic. So I don't want to take too much of your time, but I am going to say that 2024 represents a couple of anniversaries, and anniversaries are meaningless numbers, but when they've got a 0 or a 5, they feel a little more important. So this is the 95th year since Generoso Pope started the parade. It's the 40th anniversary of the scholarship program, and it's the 500th anniversary of Giovanni da Verrazzano kind of charting a course along the Atlantic seaboard, and his information about what the terrain was like and what the waterways were like led 80 years later to Henry Hudson coming and doing, his discoveries. So, when you have all these anniversaries, you start to think, well, what does all of this mean? How do we, capture this all together? And for me, seeing 90 plus people in the YAA, says to me that, we're really successful at bringing people together and celebrating. It's also a reminder that the Italian American community is more than just all the people who came here, around 1900, that indeed Italians have been coming to this hemisphere, for 500 plus years. So, I just wonder, as we sit and think about how to celebrate, particularly the 40th anniversary of the scholarship program, is there anything, advice you would give us as a professional, or something you hope we've got percolating for the coming year?
I would say, as you were saying that, my mind immediately was going to say, to kind of like a snippy way of saying, is like, that's a great branding moment. Even like when we celebrate different things for the VMAs, we just celebrated 50 years of hip hop. Those numbers and like putting a title to something and giving it a naming convention, whether it's alliteration or, another great literary trope, but it creates a great moment to just celebrate that and make that a focus. So I think with it being the 95th anniversary of Generoso Pope, as well as the 40th anniversary of the scholarship, is we need to celebrate that. We need to celebrate whether it's 95 stories that come from our membership of
That's a great idea. I like that.
Yeah. Or even, all the 40 different industries that, scholarship recipients have gone into, because even as I meet different scholarship recipients at CCF, it's so interesting to see, one, like you said, how you started at college and where you are now, and how you kind of transversed industries or interests. And, whether it's, filmmakers, architects, lawyers, doctors, we're all kind of forging our own path like Generoso Pope did so long ago. So, those stories are things that we should tell, and they're great ways to relate. Like you said, I love the way we tell stories too, at the CCF, and all the people there, that we each do have a really unique story of how we got there and what we're doing as members outside of the townhouse walls.
Fantastic. I think that's the perfect note on which to end. I'm stealing your 95 stories idea. Look for that in an upcoming email from me. Because I think that's
I will gladly be giving you one.
So that's great. Thank you for spending time with us, and we look forward to seeing you at the townhouse.
Of course, looking forward to seeing you all at the townhouse soon.